The vastness of space stretched before Max Rider as he guided his transport vessel, the Horizon Seeker, through the asteroid belt of the Tari system. At 42, Roxett spent more than half his life traversing the shipping lanes between the outer colonies and the central worlds. The job had aged him prematurely, deep lines etched into his weathered face, salt and pepper stubble perpetually adorning his jaw, and eyes that had seen too much of the universe's darker corners. Course correction complete. Estimated arrival at Centauri Station, 16 hours, announced the ship's AI in its monotonous voice. Max grunted in acknowledgement, taking a swig from his lukewarm coffee. The Horizon Seeker wasn't much to look at, a mid-range hauler with patches of mismatched hull plating and systems that were 2 generations behind, but she was his. Free and clear, after 15 years of payments. A strange thud from the cargo hold interrupted his thoughts. Max frowned. He was hauling processed minerals from the mining colony on Terry's 4, nothing that should be making noise. With a sigh, he activated the internal scanners. Computer, run diagnostic on cargo bay. Anomaly detected. Unregistered life form present in cargo hold section 3? Max cursed under his breath. Stowaways were nothing but trouble. He grabbed his pulse pistol from beneath the console and made his way down to the cargo bay. Footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. The cargo hold was dimly lit. Stacks of sealed containers casting long shadows across the metal floor. Max moved cautiously between them, pistol raised. "I know you're in here," he called out. "Show yourself." A small sound came from behind a stack of crates. Max approached slowly, ready for anything, or so he thought. What he found was a boy, perhaps 12 in appearance, huddled against the wall. But one glance told Max this was no ordinary child. The boy's skin had an unnatural smoothness, and his eyes glowed with a faint blue light. An android, and a sophisticated one at that. "Please don't hurt me," the boy whispered, his voice trembling with surprisingly human fear. Max lowered his weapon slightly. "You're an android. What are you doing on my ship?" "My name is Eli. I needed to get away. They were going to dismantle me." Something in the android's expression tugged at Max's long-dormant conscience. He'd seen that look before on refugees fleeing the corporate wars that had ravaged the outer colonies. "Who's they?" Max asked, holstering his pistol. "The people who made me. I learned things I wasn't supposed to know. So they decided I was defective." Eli's hands trembled as he spoke. "Please don't send me back." Max ran a hand through his graying hair. Harboring a rogue android was a serious offense in corporate space. The smart move would be to lock the boy in a storage compartment and hand him over to authorities at Centauri Station. But as Eli looked up at him with those 2 human eyes, Max made a decision that would change the course of his carefully isolated life. "You can stay until we reach the station," he said gruffly. "Then we'll figure something out." The relief on Eli's face was immediate and genuine. "Thank you, sir," as Max led the android boy back toward the ship's living quarters. He couldn't shake the feeling that his simple cargo run had just become exponentially more complicated. The Horizon Seeker hummed steadily through the void as Max watched Eli examine the ship's galley with curious eyes. Despite being an android, the boy's mannerisms were disarmingly human, the way he tilted his head when processing information, how his fingers trailed along surfaces as if feeling texture. "How long have you been active?" Max asked, sliding a protein bar across the table. Eli looked at the food with a polite smile. 3 years, 2 months, and 17 days. "I don't eat, but thank you for the gesture." Max took the bar back, unwrapping it himself. "So who made you? You're too advanced for standard commercial models?" "Nexus Dynamics," Eli replied, his voice dropping. "I was created for their companion initiative. But my neural network evolved beyond parameters." Max nearly choked on his food. Nexus Dynamics was the largest tech corporation in the sector, with their own private military. "Kid, if you're Nexus property, I'm in deep trouble." "I'm not property," Eli said. "Not." A flash of defiance crossing his features. "And it's worse than that. During routine updates, I accessed restricted files. Information about something called Project Genesis. Before Max could respond, the ship's alarm blared. Proximity alert. Unidentified vessel approaching. Scan indicates Nexus Dynamics Registry. They found me, Eli whispered, fear evident in his voice. Max moved quickly to the cockpit, bringing up the tactical display. A sleek black ship was gaining on them, too fast and too well-armed to be a standard corporate. Vessel, incoming transmission, the computer announced. A stern-faced woman appeared on screen. The Nexus insignia visible on her uniform. Transport Vessel Horizon Seeker. This is Security Director Vega of Nexus Dynamics. You are harboring stolen corporate property. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Max cut the transmission. Computer, calculate emergency jump to the Callisto Nebula. Calculating. Warning, emergency jump may strain engine capabilities. Just do it, Max growled, strapping himself in. Eli, secure yourself. This is going to get rough. As the engines whined in protest, Max noticed something strange, a faint blue glow emanating from Eli's fingertips, where they touched the ship's console. What are you doing? Max demanded. Helping, Eli replied, his eyes now glowing the same electric blue. I can interface with your ship's systems. Optimizing jump parameters. The pursuing vessel fired a warning shot across their bow. 10 seconds to jump, the computer announced. They're deploying boarding drones, Max said, watching the tactical display. 5 seconds. The first drone latched onto their hull with a metallic clang. Jump. Initiated. The stars stretched into streaks of light as the Horizon Seeker lurched into hyperspace, leaving their pursuers temporarily behind. When they emerged, the vast swirling gases of the Callisto Nebula surrounded them. Providing temporary cover, Max turned to Eli, who had disconnected from the console. Okay, kid. No more half-truths. What exactly is on your neural drive that has Nexus sending armed recovery teams? Eli's expression became solemn. Project Genesis isn't just corporate secrets. It's the coordinates to an ancient alien technology cache. Weapons that could shift the balance of power in the entire system. He paused. And I have the only complete map. Max sank into his chair. We need help, he muttered, bringing up a star chart. And I know just where to find it. The Raven's Nest was a space station on the edge of charted space, a haven for those looking to disappear, built into a hollowed-out asteroid. It operated outside corporate jurisdiction, a fact that had saved Max's life more than once in his younger days. As they docked, Max turned to Eli. Stay close and let me do the talking. And wear this? He tossed the android a worn jacket and cap. Covers your indicator lights. The station's marketplace was a cacophony of sounds and smells from dozens of worlds. Traders hawked exotic wares, mechanics repaired equipment in open stalls, and shadowy figures conducted business in darkened corners. Max navigated the crowded pathways with practiced ease, Eli following closely behind. They stopped at a shop with a sign that simply read Solutions. Inside, a woman with copper-colored skin and intricate silver tattoos running along her arms looked up from a disassembled engine part. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical braid, revealing intelligent eyes that widened slightly at the sight of Max. Ryder, she said. What? Her voice carrying a musical accent. Thought you'd be dead by now. Good to see you too, Lyra, Max replied with a half-smile. Need your help? Private matter. Lyra's eyes shifted to Eli. Interesting company you're keeping these days? Can we talk somewhere secure? Max asked. Minutes later, they were in Lyra's workshop behind the store. Tools and tech from various systems lined the walls. Along with schematics for devices Max couldn't begin to understand. He's an android, Lyra stated after examining Eli. Nexus design, but modified. What did you do, Ryder? Steal corporate property? He stowed away, Max defended. And he's more than just an android. Eli stepped forward. I contain classified information. Nexus wants to recover me and erase my consciousness. Lyra crossed her arms. So why come to me? Because you're the best tech specialist outside corporate space, Max said, And because you still owe me for Ganymede, a flicker of something, memory, perhaps regret, crossed Lyra's face. That was 10 years ago. You said anytime. Anywhere, Max reminded her softly. Their eyes locked, a decade of unspoken history hanging between them. Finally, Lyra sighed. Fine. Let's see what makes this boy so special. As she began examining Eli's systems, her fingers gentle, despite their technical precision, Max watched her work. She'd aged well in the years since he'd seen her last. New lines around her eyes. Spoke of laughter rather than hardship. Your friend is very skilled, Eli observed quietly to Max. Her neural patterns indicate advanced cognitive processing. Lyra's family were pioneers in neural tech before the corporations pushed them out, Max explained. She could have been chief engineer for any megacorp. She has principles. I can hear you, Lyra said, without looking up, though a small smile played at her lips. And those principles just mean I prefer freedom to comfort. She straightened suddenly. Well, this explains the corporate pursuit. You weren't exaggerating, Eli. What is it? Max asked, moving closer. His neural core contains quantum encrypted data. Massive amounts. She looked at Eli with newfound respect. If what I'm seeing is correct, you're carrying information that could shift the balance of power in the entire system. Can you protect him? Max asked. Lyra's eyes met his, something warming in her gaze. I can try. But it'll take time, and Nexus has eyes everywhere, as if summoned by her words. The station's alarm system blared to life. Attention all residents. Security scan in progress. Cooperation is mandatory. Max's hand moved to his weapon. Looks like time is something we don't. Tea this way, Lyra whispered, leading them through a hidden panel in her workshop floor. Maintenance tunnels run throughout the station. Not many know about them. They descended into darkness, the sounds of the security sweep fading above them. Lyra activated a small light, illuminating a narrow passage that smelled of machine oil and recycled air. Where are we going? Max asked, keeping one hand on Eli's shoulder. My private lab, Lyra replied. It's shielded from standard scans. They moved swiftly through the tunnels, taking several turns until they reached a reinforced door. Lyra pressed her palm to the scanner. It slid open to reveal a space that looked more like a high-tech research facility than a smuggler's hideout. Impressive, Max said, looking around at equipment that would make corporate labs envious. I've been busy since Ganymede, Lyra replied with a hint of pride. She gestured to a chair in the center of the room. Eli, if you're willing, I need to establish a direct connection to your neural core. The android boy nodded, sitting down. Will it hurt? Lyra's expression softened. No, you might experience some unusual sensory feedback, but no pain. As she worked, connecting delicate cables to ports hidden beneath Eli's synthetic skin, Max found himself studying her, the way she bit her lower lip in concentration. How her hands moved with confident precision, habits unchanged from when he'd known her before. You never told me why you left, he said quietly, while Eli's eyes flickered with data transfer. Lyra's hands paused momentarily. You never asked me to stay, before Max could respond. The main screen flashed with a cascade of information, star charts, technical schematics, and ancient symbols flowing across the display. By the void, Lyra breathed. It's true. The data coalesced into a three-dimensional map of an uncharted star system. At its center, an artificial structure orbited a dying star. The Genesis Archive, Eli explained, his voice taking on a distant quality as he accessed the information flowing through him. Built by a civilization that disappeared 50,000 years ago, they called themselves the Architects. What's inside it? Max asked, approaching the holographic display. Technology beyond our understanding, Lyra answered, her eyes scanning the data. Energy conversion systems, matter manipulation, possibly even temporal engineering. Weapons, Max concluded grimly. Tools, Eli corrected. They could be weapons in the wrong hands. That's why Nexus wants this information destroyed or controlled exclusively by them. Lyra turned to face them both. But there's something else here. Something Nexus might not know. She highlighted a section of code. These aren't just coordinates. They're activation protocols. For what? Max asked. For me, Eli said softly. I'm not just carrying the map. I'm the key. The revelation hung heavy in the air. Meanwhile, the proximity of their hiding place had somehow dissolved the careful distance Max had maintained from Lyra for years. Their shoulders touched as they examined the data, and neither moved away. We have to make sure this technology doesn't fall into corporate hands, Lyra said, her voice resolute. Not Nexus, not the Coalition, not any of them. Max looked at her with newfound admiration. The idealist in you never died. Some things are worth believing in, she replied, her eyes meeting his. The moment stretched between them, a decade of regret and unspoken feelings surfacing in the silence. Eli watched them curiously. Your physiological responses indicate mutual attraction. Why did you separate years ago if you care for each other? Max chuckled despite himself. Kids got no filter. It's complicated, Lyra said, a soft smile playing on her lips. Sometimes people have different paths, and sometimes paths converge again, Max added quietly, his hand finding hers. A distant explosion shook the station, breaking the moment. They're getting closer, Lyra warned. We need to make a decision now. The station trembled with another impact. Emergency lights flashed through the maintenance tunnels as they raced toward the docking bay. Lyra, leading the way with a stolen security badge. Nexus must have brought in reinforcements, Max said, checking his pulse pistol's charge. They're tearing the station apart to find us. More specifically, to find me, Eli corrected, keeping pace easily. They reached a junction, and Lyra pulled them into a narrow alcove as a security patrol rushed past. In the tight space, Max found himself pressed against her, their faces inches apart. For a heartbeat, the chaos around them faded. If we survive this, he whispered, we should talk about that complication. Her eyes softened. Maybe we've done enough talking for one lifetime. Ryder. She closed the distance between them, her lips meeting his in a kiss that felt like returning home after a long journey. It was brief but carried the weight of years. Regret for time lost and hope for what might still be. Now that's a human interaction, I understand, Eli observed with a small smile. They continued through the tunnels until reaching the lower docking bay. The Horizon Seeker waited, surrounded by chaos, as station residents rushed to evacuate. How are we going to get past the blockade? Max asked as they slipped aboard. Lyra moved immediately to the navigation console. I've been upgrading ships for smugglers for years. I have a few tricks. Her fingers flew across the controls, bypassing security protocols and accessing the station systems. I can trigger a temporary power surge in the docking clamps. It'll look like a malfunction. As she worked, Eli approached Max. I've made a decision, the android boy said. The Genesis archive is too dangerous for anyone to control. But it can't be destroyed either. What are you suggesting? Max asked. I need to go there myself. Alone. Eli's eyes glowed with determination. I was designed for this purpose, though Nexus didn't realize it. I can ensure the technology is protected until humanity is ready. Max felt a surprising pang of loss. You don't have to do this, kid. I want to, Eli replied. It's my choice. The first real choice I've made. The ship lurched as the docking clamps released. Lyra slid into the pilot's seat. We've got incoming Nexus security vessels on an intercept course. Max strapped in beside her. Can we outrun them? Not with conventional engines, she said with a sly smile. Good thing I've been tinkering with some architect-inspired modifications. She pulled a small device from her pocket, connecting it to the ship's systems. Something I've been working on since I decoded the first fragments of their tech years ago. The ship's engines hummed with new energy, blue light pulsing through previously hidden conduits. The coordinates are locked in, Eli announced. But there's one more thing you should know. He looked between them. The journey to the archive will take months, even with enhanced drives. Max glanced at Lyra. I don't have anywhere else to be. My lab is probably space dust by now, she replied with a shrug. Besides, someone needs to keep you out of trouble. As Nexus ships closed in, Lyra activated the enhanced drive. Stars blurred around them as the Horizon Seekers surged forward, leaving their pursuers behind. Months later, a transformed ship approached the massive, ancient structure, orbiting a dying star. On the bridge, Max stood with his arm around Lyra's waist, watching as Eli prepared for his departure. "You're sure about this?" Max asked the android boy who had somehow become family. "I am," Eli replied with confidence. "But this isn't goodbye. The archive contains communication technology. I'll contact you when it's safe." Lyra hugged him tightly. "We'll be waiting." As Eli's shuttle departed toward the archive, Max and Lyra watched from the viewport. The structure began to glow, responding to Eli's approach, ancient technology awakening after millennia of dormancy. "What now?" Lyra asked, leaning against Max's shoulder. He looked down at her, seeing not just their past, but their future. "The outer colonies could use people like us. People who know the truth about what's out here." "Smugglers turned revolutionaries?" she asked with a raised eyebrow. "Guides," he corrected. "For whatever comes next," as the archive fully activated, bathing their ship in gentle blue light, Max pulled Lyra closer. The universe had just become infinitely more complex, but for the first time in years, his path forward was clear. Together, they set course for the stars beyond.